So we have extraordinary security measures that are being taken in Washington, D.C. and across the country ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration on Wednesday. With the potential threat of more violence this weekend, businesses in D.C. are boarding up, the National Mall shut down, and the Pentagon has authorized 25,000 troops for the inauguration. The state capitals nationwide also on alert. So FBI has warned of possible armed protests at all 50 state capitals. So, the bulletin warns of violence against federal buildings, government buildings, public officials even. Federal and local law enforcement also have to take heed of all these warnings. So let's just get right into it. GPS, we love Joe Biden here, of course. We love Kamala Harris. Do you think that they are going too overboard with the 25,000 troops or anything? Or do you think that there still might be a little inkling of this million militia march that might step foot in the D.C. area?
Well, I don't think they're going overboard. Okay, part of the problem is nobody took enough action the first time this happened. So any other threat that you have now, you have to take seriously. Okay. These folks have already proven that they are crazy enough, not foolish enough, crazy enough to trespass on federal property with arms. Guns, ammunition. Who else knows what else they had? So no, they need to take every precaution possible. The fact that they got 20,000 troops down there right now, more than we've had in Iran, Pakistan. What's the other one I'm looking for?
Iraq,
Pakistan, Iraq combined. No, they need them all down there, and they need if you probably even maybe need another 20. And just start lining the highways, up and down 95. If it looks suspicious, pull it over, empty it out.
Okay.
Because nothing can happen to this man here today. You understand? Not today, but come Wednesday, nothing can happen.
100%.
Nothing.
You got that right, exactly. So I would say this, Mr. Cortez. A lot of politicians have been talking and saying that the biggest threat to national security right now is not anything international, but it's all domestic in light of everything that happened with the riots that happened the other week. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. As I told you before, I'm going to tell our listeners, we've been talking about this for the past 4 years of homeland terrorism. We've been talking about that for the longest. It's so weird, man, that now it's happening. It's happening. We've been telling them for years. We're like the leadership that's in the White House is not trying to squash these militias. They encouraged them. They fed them.
Yep.
They kept feeding them and feeding them. Now it's just out of control. So now the problem is now they gotta check them. The only way to check them, they have to use these extreme measures. But I agree with GPS. If they would have been doing this, when it started. It wouldn't be where it's at right now. I mean, what's going to happen? Harris and Biden are going to probably have security like this for the next 4 years because these cats are bold, man. I mean, you don't know. And then on top of that, they're not mentioning it, but you also have senators and congressmen that have these same radical ideas that their counter protesters have. So you got people within your house that can, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what their intentions are, because they were arguing about the metal detectors. Like, why we got metal detectors here? Because your ass, you might turn.
Yeah, but let me drop in a little something that interesting when you said metal detectors. Now, there are some senators when that whole brouhaha went on in Congress, and of course during the week, this past week, we had the impeachment. First time in history that a president has been impeached, not once, but twice. Now, one thing that was mentioned kind of on the low, some of the senators that are over there in Congress, they come to work packed. They come to work strapped.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that metal detector, I was like, yeah, that's wild. Not a lot of Democrats, but more Republicans come in strapped. Now, to me, I consider that's a red flag for me. I mean, let's just say super worst case scenario. One of these Democrats is in a, points a finger at a Republican in some kind of scandal, and he almost costs his job. Next thing you know, he pulls out his piece, bang, bang. Then what? I thought we check everybody at the door. Obviously, we're still having these favoritisms between party lines.
The problem is, man, the first thing they go through, it's my Second Amendment right. I can bear arms, but that's the thing. A gun is just a tool. That's all it is. It's just a tool. The person wielding it is the biggest problem behind it. That's why I am an advocate of gun control. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. But it's a tool, but so many idiots have access to them. That's the problem. Like, you're right, man. One of the senators or congressmen can have a nervous breakdown, man. Take their piece out and just go ape and start shooting everybody, man. No questions asked.
One thing. Can you put that bazooka away that's behind you, bro? You left it out there before you started the show. Please put the bazooka away. So,
okay, put the AK. Put the AK underneath.
Put the AK underneath the bed, man. All right.
Put underneath your seat. Put underneath your convention, your Congress seat. Put underneath there so nobody doesn't see it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, but it's something to be concerned about. So it's something that people should bring up and not just like throw it under the rug. Because remember, all the things that happen that we just throw under the rug winds up becoming potentially worse or catastrophic.
I think it's going to get worse in the beginning until they can figure out how to deal with this new homegrown threat, which has been around for years,
centuries.
They got centuries. They got to deal with that, man. They can deal with these militias and shut them down. I think things would get better, but the problem is, man, and media also has contributed to a lot of this drama too, man.
That's true.
I'm all for freedom of speech. Don't get me wrong, folks. I'm all for freedom of speech. But this is what happens when you let somebody get too much freedom of speech. When somebody gets up there and says, hey, let's go to the Capitol building and shut it down.
If you come up here and you assault anybody, if you intimidate anybody, if we see anything that looks like a weapon, we're going to take action. We're going to start cuffing people, and you are coming with us. That is not going to be optional. You bring all guns you want. If we see them, you're coming with us. And we're going to build a brand new jail just for you.
Okay.
We need to take it up a level higher. Shoot on sight, man. If you get that man's going to act up, man.
Shoot to kill.
Yeah, because, man, you can't negotiate with you cannot negotiate with a terrorist, man.
Yep. That's right. We're not negotiating.
You can't negotiate with somebody that's crazy.
If we think we saw a gun, we spraying. Okay. And then y'all can do whatever it is y'all got to do.
Wow.
You can be all the patriots you want to be.
Those National Guards, they putting their life on the line, man. They can't sit down there and decipher who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. This might take a gun out, man. They need to neutralize them as quick as possible, because the problem is, man, you don't know who a terrorist is now, man.
That's right.
Because back then, what I didn't like, what Trump's administration was saying was people that were light and brown was somewhat terrorists. People that walked around with turbans on their hair were terrorists.
We are.
He was not talking about Joe in Nebraska that lives on a farm. He wasn't talking about him being a terrorist. Yep. But that same Joe's a cat that was down in the Capitol building, man, tearing it up. So you don't know who's who, man. You really don't.
For all the National Guard members that were deployed out there, first of all, we appreciate your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for defending this country. Unfortunately, you're in a position now where you're going to be there to show and prove to the country how you can defend this great nation.